The Poet's Perspective podcast is brought to you by Urban Grind Coffee House. What better way than to start your day by grabbing life by the beans? Coffee beans, that is. Visit urbangrindatlanta.com to get coffee delivered right to your doorstep, and be sure to use the discount code POETRY to save 15% on your next pound of coffee. And if you'd like to be a part of the culture and represent the eclectic vibe and positive energy that Urban Grind has to offer, you can choose from our selection of brand new Urban Grind apparel. And if you're in the Atlanta area, make sure you visit Urban Grind for their selection of specialty coffees, sandwiches, and pastries while you get your studying done, working on that $1 million idea, or just meeting up with friends. Urban Grind Coffee House. Keep grinding. Yo,
What's up, Justin?
Uxmar, what's going on, man?
I'm over here. I just got home from work in the last half hour, smashed on some pizza, smoking the devil's lettuce, and I'm loving every poet that's been on here, bro.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. How's everything been?
Good. So I know that we were both doing Sober October. I don't know if you're still maintaining sobriety.
No, that's that was over with November 1, bro.
So what I decided to do was to maintain the not drinking aspect of it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna see how long I can go without drinking. So maybe I'll be sober for another week. Maybe I'll be sober for the rest of my life. We'll see. From
Hey,
that, at least, all I really need is a little bit of weed. I'll be all right.
I feel that, and that's pretty much how I do it too. I'm not too much of a big drinker,
Yeah.
but excuse me, man. We just got on here and started kicking it.
All right.
Just because I know you, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Actually, no, excuse me. So I just want to let everybody know I met this man. We were at the festival, Split This Rock.
With this rock in DC.
And when was that? 2018?
Yeah, it was 2018. It was almost 3 years ago now.
God, that's crazy. So yeah, so I met this man. Met this man at a poetry festival up in DC. And let me see. I think I kicked something, and then you went on after me, and I heard you kick something, and we just ended up linking up, man, because that's what poets do, and
Yeah,
you
you
dope.
find somebody of similar frequencies and you vibe. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad the universe brought you into my life. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and I've been watching your movements, man, reading your writings ever since then. But yo, man, for everybody who's not familiar as I am, go ahead and introduce yourself for the people.
My name is Uxmar Torres. I am 25. I'm coming out of Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a poet. I write poems in form. I do like sonnets and haikus and acrostics and bestiaries, all sorts. Like, if you can imagine it, you ask me to write you a poem, I'll write you a poem. But then my bread and butter is spoken word poetry. So a lot of the pieces that I write in form are honestly to just maintain the habit of, it's like running laps, you know what I mean? Like, you just
Absolutely.
if you don't keep up with it, if you don't exercise that muscle, you're gonna lose the mass, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Yes.
I'm working on a couple different things right now. I'm finally piecing together slowly my spoken word EP I'm trying to do. So that should be released sometime next year. And then I'm looking at finishing up my book, but honestly, I've been doing a lot of commission work. So people hit me up to write them a personal poem, whether they're bad with words and they want to hit up their girlfriend, like, hey, look, I love you, and here's a poem, like a real personal type of gift. Or just like, I got commissioned to do this really cool piece, so you can't really read it, but it's
Hey,
a
that's dope
it's a
though.
2 foot by 2 foot. Yeah, it's like done in like a gold so that it's a reflection, and it's a sonnet that I wrote about my mom. So, like,
Oh
poetry
man,
can be
that's dope.
dope for so many reasons.
So many reasons, man. So yeah, man. So speaking of poetry, that's why we here. So how we do it, man? You can kick, 2, 3, 11, 90,000, however many pieces, whatever's in your heart, and then we'll get into a little conversation after that. So as of right now, the floor is yours.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Justin. And again, shout out to Urban Grind, because they're super dope and they let us do this every week.
Hell yeah.
All right, so this first piece, it's called Stardust. It's relatively new, been refined over a little bit of time. I am a master architect in an existence that I have inscribed with words. I have been reading and rewriting the entire universe since the third day when I rose to understand that what we are is nothing but dust coughed up by the stars. And I know that language is unique because of what it has hidden, the code of behavior that was spoken long before it was written. And so I weave words and I'll seek truth when I need to, but I speak soft and I write out loud when I need you. On the edge of a great lake, I found my soul, right where lightning struck the sand and turned to gold. And it taught me a tale, something of God-given ecstasy, about the natural euphoria of having you lying next to me. And I know that we exist in this present tense because that's the way that we choose it, because we can transcend time with art, books, poetry, and music. And if you feel a feeling like you feel me, well, then give me a half nod, because it's hard being human. We're half animal and half God. And 1 billion years from now, when the sun explodes and our fossils burn, I'll be floating back into the ether where I promised that I'd return. But that little spark of creation in me that just won't die, it'll dare me to populate the earth, the sun, the moon, and the sky. And so I'll spread my semen on the stars and I will place life onto the planets. They'll worship me as my damn children and take my poetry as commandments. See, that's the violence that I dream about, the kind that produces an artist, the kind that separates humans from their souls and stars from their stardust. And that's that piece. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. All right, what was the next one I was gonna do? All right, so this next piece here is this one's called The Garden. And this was just like, it was a real cloudy day when I wrote this piece. And it helped me get through it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. The Garden. On a cloudy day without a ray of light to trigger chlorophyll, two lonely flowers will face each other as comfort comes in the form of will. The garden has been bought and sold and soaked in blood and robbed of gold. As children, we would play in its arid beds and burn each other when we were cold. But then that stem became a vessel in the static of the morning, of the aftermath as the dew collects and it wets without a warning. And now the petals are bioluminescent and they smell faintly of gasoline. And now everything that's anything has to outlast every evergreen. But a tree falls in the forest and her sisters have to hear the break. The difference is the pain that they feel. So what difference would a person make? If a scream in space is weightless, we would still feel it with a heavy heart. You see, trees are often faceless, so our roots seem to feel far apart. But into darkness, both seeds are casted. That's our tiny lungs and their chloroplasts that grow and change the world, although they are not bound to last. We're bound to die and feed the earth. We'll return ourselves to what was first. We both warm our faces in the sun and share in our thirst. The difference between us and trees is that they have roots while we have feet. So while they get chopped down in place, we'll get shot crossing the street, running from what we fear will change the pace of life or break routines. But everybody ever dies. That's many men with many dreams. And so we'll till the soil, hoping that our crops don't spoil, contemplating our doppelgangers and our literary foils. But me, I like to focus on my friends, the flowers. I'll feed them these verses for hours. You see, they believe in me, in that my poetry is my superpower. And that's that piece, The Garden. I'm a fan of that one. That one I posted, if you want to see that one again, that one I actually posted on as a post on my feed. It's like an IGTV video. That one
I
means
think
a lot.
I think I seen that one on YouTube too. If I'm
Hey,
not
my guy.
mistaken. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got excited when I wrote that one. I was like, I gotta record that one. It makes my heart full. But this is an earlier piece I wrote. This was one of my like first spoken word pieces. That this is like when I transitioned from like reading a poem off of a phone to being like, no, if I'm gonna do this, I need to commit and I need to have the discipline to memorize my work, because how can I emote what I wrote if I don't know what it is? You know what I mean?
Facts.
So this one's called Ugly. Ooh, this is the piece that I spit when I met Justin Patton.
Ah.
Ugly. They tell me ugly and sorry. They tell me ugly is my face and it's in my name too. It's in my name too. I'm here to say fuck you. They tell me that ugly's in my face and that it's in my name too. So let me confess some of the shit that I never thought I would say to you. About all of the times I was attacked and belittled and I let it pass me by because I've never been one to cash and accept or wear and carry a lie. You see, it's not just my palms. They try to make me feel like my whole body is too hairy to hide. So I'd lock myself up inside myself because on the outside it was kind of scary to cry. But then the judging got wary and I tried to put the glaring aside and I realized that I didn't need somewhere to run and hide. So I stood up and I caught myself eye to eye staring at privilege and pride. And I just couldn't reach it. You see, it was buried underneath the underbelly of a lighter-skinned beast on the other side of a wall of glass. Glass that's as dusty, dingy, and dirty as my ghosts from the past. And while most of us here know how to last, they can humbly boast to the class. Not all of us have the fucking privilege to coast going fast. So I offer up my spot in line because I know my worth and I'd rather be last. They tell me ugly is my face and it's in my name too. It's in my name too. I'm here to say fuck you because I know that I am capable of anything, but I ask you don't dare me to try because with my luck I'll unearth a man that's buried alive. A man of color that's barely alive but feels very alive, coughing up dirt from 6 feet under because we leave the earth too arid and dry. And I'll carry him on my back until he can walk holding my shoulders, and then maybe he'll tell me his story about living through hell and its glory. And he'll remind me that I have a health inside me, a wealth inside me that's very strange. Because God didn't give me money, but he gave me sense. And so I should be making change. They tell me, ugly is my face, and it's in my name too. It's in my name too. I'm here to say, I love you. And that's that piece. Bro, just reciting that brought me back. I haven't done that one in a long time.
Yeah, I remember that piece.
All right. And then we got time, right? I'm not on the clock too hard right
Oh,
now.
no, man.
And I
You're good,
appreciate,
you're
I
good.
see all the little fire emojis and all the little hearts. I appreciate all you guys. All right, bet. This one's more recent. This one's untitled. Gotta work on that, I guess. It goes, woke up quick to a rattling chain link at Camp America, where they make you piss where you drink. Now imagine waking up to a missing mother and father after sleeping on concrete and sipping on toilet water. Because there's not a moment that my mind blinks and pretends that they have not deported my family and my friends. My hands feel powerless, but still, I raise a fist. I use the words that the Lord gave me to write like this. I wrote a letter for Bohr, but the judge wanted more. He didn't even get to hug his kids before they sent him out the door. We cannot save everybody, but we can educate. So know your rights, know how to protect, and know how to mediate. Not everyone's had opportunities like I did. I'm first generation middle school, first generation high school, and first generation college. But this is a call to re-impeach the midday marauder and a PSA that Flint still ain't got no clean water. A call to bless the blood in the streets where I was born and to hand down the hand-me-down clothes that I have worn. You see, since 1845, the Shy's been scraping the skyline, but in 95, they scraped me out my mom at Mount Sinai. I'm from a hood where walking in, they'll leave you with your mouth wide, where they're shooting for the stars, but they're aiming from the south side. And they say that life gets better as time goes on and we get older, but all I'm doing is fighting anxiety and depression every October. And it's not quite finished, but that's where it's at right now.
Hey. Man,
Yeah,
it's heavy so
yeah.
far.
Appreciate that. And then my problem is that I memorize all my pieces, but I have to know the first line. And if I can't remember the first line, I'm like completely screwed. It's so weird. But we get stuck, but uh, it's only a tiny rut we shall overcome.
Absolutely.
Got it. Look, I found it. So this is a piece that I wrote. So I do a lot of writing in form to practice like the cadence. I try to make sure that I'm always writing in meter and doing it. Writing that subconsciously is easier to memorize because it has a specific cadence to it, almost like a song.
Hmm.
And so I was doing a writing exercise and I turned it into a poem because I was having feelings as poets do. And every line in this piece is 15 syllables. That's the way that I wrote it. So it worked out for me. So I just called it 15. I recite poetry in verse in hopes it will sing for me a special note to help me fall in love, so I'll adore me. 3 grams of trees and sap, the woods at night, I hear them calling. I'm Icarus, I'm flying high, I'm melting wax and falling. As I descend, I start to see this psilocybin sinkhole where I found keys to my third eye and broken minds can think whole. You scrape away the anger, pain, and hate that's left by trauma, but trip too hard and you might end up buried by your mama. I woke and learned you passed away. My heart grew numb for hours. Now your wings are spread on my arm as I listen to flowers. I could not speak, I could not write until this moment. Right now, you are the reason that I write, and I don't care how it sounds. Hayes told me to jump on the mic or maybe pick up my pen. So I haven't stopped writing poetry since I was like 10. I got that boom bap in my blood, so don't arouse my anger. I got one mic in hand, but 36 more in the chamber. Life is a bitch and then we die, so trust your intuition. It will help guide you on your path to make the right decisions. That little voice inside my head illustrated a story of epic poetry that drowns in blood but bathes in glory. This is my Iliad, my Odyssey. I'm Homer speaking with the conviction of a man who knows that he should be king. I've bested cyclops, sirens. I'm convinced I'll live forever. If not, I will just weave my words till this connection severed. I am a descendant of royalty. There's gold in the mud. Don't mind the fair tone of my skin. That's just the rape in my blood. I dream of castles by the sea where all the shores are salted, where all my sins may be absolved while my soul is exalted. I bought my soul back from the devil, and it cost me dearly. But I'd give up everything to stand here just so you could hear me. And that's that piece.
Hmm.
That one I like. That one's got a couple highlights in it, I'm not gonna lie. And then I got one more that I'll do for everybody because I know you're gonna get tired of my voice real fast.
Hey man, we good. We on your journey, man. We following you.
Bet. And then this is a spoken word verse that's gonna be featured on another spoken word buddies EP is gonna be released here in this turn of the year. So check this out. Through this irreversible spoken word, should I intend to preach a sermon to self-denying people of color for Trump and other vermin. Our backs are bent to the brink of having broken fucking souls, and so we find a bit of betterness and we let it swallow us whole. And a special certain something stuck inside of us could save the day. The kind of spark they used to burn the forest down to pave the way, or beat the tree to pulp and paper and trade it for food and slaves. This climate has me feeling low, and so I'll blow this smoke to hopeless folks in hopes that it invokes a little flame. We dance with shadows, bullets, arrows. Our screams are black and brown, but they're starting to sound the same. This poetry is composed of thoughts trained to express my stance. I took the time to yearn and learn, and I taught my tongue to dance. But what is a message in a bottle to those who know no loss? And have you ever watched the light in somebody's eyes dim as they cross? What would you do with 8 minutes and 46 seconds of crucifixion? Would you call to your dead mother, or would you pray for a conviction? What did Arbery do? And what if it were Obb's period? Maybe then I would look to the sky and I would finally start fearing it. Maybe they would read our poetry and finally start feeling it, or see this generational trauma and finally start healing it. That's that.
Hey. Whew.
On that note, I'm gonna let that digest for a second. I gotta spark my roach.
That's what's up, man. Hey, man, that was some heavy pieces, man.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you gave us a lot right there. I'm glad we could have that quick moment of silence right quick. Um, so let's go ahead and get into it, man. What's the Chicago poetry scene looking like right now? I mean, excuse me, what's Chicago looking like right now? Is the city open, or are people going out? What's kind of lay of
City's
the land
pretty
right now?
the city's pretty shut down, but restaurants that got the money to are definitely setting up like the plastic igloos and
Okay.
just, eating up space on the sidewalk like they pay for it.
Right, right. So
But
as far
besides
as
that,
far
like
as
a lot of places have closed. There's a lot of businesses struggling. There's a lot of families that are struggling right now. But, hopefully Christmas is enough to keep everybody's spirits up for a little while, while we all try to figure this out. Vaccines get distributed, whatever that looks like for wherever you're at. But
right.
everybody walking around pretty much rocking masks, kind of staying a little far apart from each other. I run what's it called? I run a gallery and a print shop, and we're doors closed. It's pretty much just doing print stuff, and then people come by and no contact pickup kind of thing. So
Okay. Got you.
it's still pretty isolated, you know. There was actually a party that just got busted, I think last week. There was some underground party. It had like 400 people at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey
So,
man, that's crazy. It's just the crazy what you describing, man, because it's kind of different down here. Like Atlanta's open, bro. Like
yeah.
Atlanta is open pretty much. I mean, you can go to a poetry show right now. Like you could find, you know what I'm saying? You can come down here and perform if you want to. But not even that. Like, I
Crazy.
mean, restaurants, like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, as for me, I'm pretty much just laying low at the crib,
Yeah.
just to, we see what happens. And it's still a lot of the same stuff as far as like a lot of restaurants shutting down, businesses struggling. It's still a lot of that. But as far as like just being out here and traffic on the road, folks is out, man.
That's
But
fair.
yeah,
Chicago's kind of fucked up in that though. They in the last 2 weeks, it was like 1 in 15 people had COVID here in the city.
one in
So
15 guy.
yeah, so almost 10% of the population, which is kind of fucking wild. But
That's definitely wild, man. But so during this whole pandemic time, how's that been for your writing and your process? Have you been
um,
able to stay creative during this time?
yeah, so pretty okay, code. Everything started really happening towards the end of March, right? That was like when shit got weird, when the weirdness
Yep.
began.
Yep.
A month after that, my girlfriend at the time of 4 years and I broke up. And then she dipped out. So then I'm like on my own and kind of going crazy. So I didn't get too much writing done in those like first couple months. And then I regained some sanity, and I've been writing, honestly, probably the best writing I've ever done in my life. I've had more time to focus. I've been able to like set up a creative space for myself. I mean, we have a limited view, but I'm like here in my studio, fucking, where it's just like, I feel like I got blinders on when I'm in here, and it's just like I can write. I get stupid ideas, and then I take a break, doom scroll a little bit, read some shit that pisses me off on Twitter, and then start writing more.
Right. But you mentioned earlier during your set that you write you just write poems just to stay kind of abreast, which I kind of do the same thing. So my thing is like when I first wake up every morning, I just journal for a whole page. I don't let my hands stop moving just to keep myself like kind of in the habit of just writing and not thinking about it. So when I do sit down to like come up with some shit, then I'm not just sitting there. I'm in the habit. So
Yeah, you got that muscle.
yeah, yeah. So do you write every day?
I try to write every day. If I don't write every day, I'm writing 5, 6 days a week.
Okay,
I
so
always have. So
so it's pretty
I'm one of
often.
yeah, I am one of those people where you see me on the train, you see me on my bike, you see me walking around, and I always got a book bag on because I don't want to just carry a notebook in my hand. So I
Yeah.
always got my notebook on me, pull it out, might draw something stupid, rip a page out, write a poem, leave it somewhere. But like I do try to call. I was talking earlier about how I like to maintain writing in form, and so I'll do a lot of really short forms, just like haikus,
Okay.
just to more than anything, like you said, just to maintain that, like make sure that I'm writing every day.
Yeah,
Because
the working
if
out.
1% of what you got is okay, and then 1% of that is amazing, you have to write thousands of pieces, and you got to write thousands of lines, and you have to write down thousands of words, because most of it is going to be probably not good, but it's not about it being good, it's about it being, you just got to get it out there.
Yeah, man. So I just thought it was interesting you say that because I kind of think about it the same way as far as like just building that muscle and making sure it's
Yeah.
always active. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you do sit down or when you get commissioned to do some work, then you already know what to do. It's just like for me, it's just like going in the gym. Like I know what I'm
Yeah.
about to do when I get in there when I sit down. So that's what's
And
up. But you
you know that if you don't go for 2 weeks, the first day back in there is gonna suck.
Yep, and it does every time. Every time. So yeah, so I was asking you basically if it was a difference between you writing just what I guess one would call poetry or then as opposed to a spoken word piece. Do you approach that any differently as far as the creative process?
Um, yes. So spoken word pieces I go into with an idea of what I'm trying to accomplish. So a lot of the time those will stem from lines that I pull from the other poems. So like if
Mm,
there's one idea or even the ideas that come from the poems. So like um I wrote a piece, for example, I wrote a piece that was just like a written poem. And in the written poem, I made a reference to the allegory of the cave. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Plato's allegory of the cave, but, Plato being a philosopher, he came up with this idea like the idea is a man is born in a cave and he's chained in the back of the cave. There's a fire that casts
mm,
shadows. All he knows is echoes and all he sees are shadows. And so that's his reality. And then one day he, like, after years, he leaves the cave and he discovers what the real world is. And like you could imagine like the overwhelming like what, everything I knew was a lie type of, like, Truman Show type stuff.
yeah.
And it, like, seeing that line in the poem that I wrote reminded me of like it, like, bringing back that idea, because I haven't thought about that in years. It made me want to rewrite the allegory of the cave in like a modern version. So right now I'm writing a spoken word piece that's like, there was a man born in the darkest, heartless part of the cave. And it just, like, from there, it just like branched into this like beautiful allegorical story that I'm working on as a spoken word piece. So I definitely, because those I really got to go into with like energy, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Whereas writing poems, like smaller, short poems, feels more like stretching and warming up.
Got you. So what's the thing for you that the thing about poetry that keeps you, I guess? Is it just the writing process? Is it performing? But what's the part of it for you that does it for you?
For me, it's the performance. It's definitely being able to like share my work with an audience and not just like, I love when people react to my work. You could hate it, you can think it could piss you off, it could make you sad, it could, make you smile, but evoking that emotion in other people, like, it's very
Got
satisfying.
it. As long as you feel something.
Yeah.
I don't care how you feel about me. I really don't care how you felt about the piece I spit, as long as you feel something.
Yeah. Even if you feel bored, like good, bored in my
Right.
place. But and then also like completing a good piece and performing it well feels like it feels like doing like a kind of like finishing a puzzle, right? Like you got pieces, you got ideas, you got the like, and then it's like how do I show this to other people in the way that would make them understand it the way that I understand it? And it turns into like this game, this like mind game that you play, that at least that I play with myself, that it's like, you know, what is the, because there's no right way to do poetry. So it
Right.
turns to me, it's like what feels right is what is right. And I try to like hold myself to a standard of something that's gonna like make me push myself, not just write something and be like, this is awesome, but like, you know, rewriting and practicing and memorizing and like giving myself goals with each piece, you know?
Okay, yeah, man. I love how you talk about just feeling something, man. Like, I mean, the best poets, at least for me, the best poets that I know make me feel the most. You know what I'm saying? They just evoke that emotion and they command that attention. So I like how when you talk about like, there's no right way, but it's the feeling. So I kind of go with that when I'm writing and as a fan of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I want to feel as well. So I can appreciate that, man. But how'd you get into it in the first place, man? Why poetry?
So I touched that on that, and for like 3.5 seconds in one of the pieces I just spit, I really started writing poetry. It started as a love for hip hop, right? Like I grew up listening. My brother's a producer. I think he's somewhere in the. He might be in the crowd. He's a DJ producer. He like showed me like I'm like 3, 4 years old rapping Easy E lyrics and shit like that. And
Yo,
then
man.
over
Yo,
time,
excuse me, real quick. Who are some of your favorite hip hop artists?
who's my
I'm sorry.
favorite hip hop artist?
Yeah, yeah. You can
Nas,
just name them.
hands down.
Okay, okay, okay.
The most amazing storyteller that I've ever fucking heard speak. Jesus. And he's still dropping heat. Anyway, uh,
Yeah, my bad for interrupting you, but I had to know before the
no,
story
you're
went
good.
on. I just had to know.
So it really started with that and just like getting into the wordsmith aspect of hip hop. And then what I caught myself doing was I even found some of these not too long ago. I would fill notebooks up. My mom would buy like boxes of there's a lot of kids, so she would buy like boxes of notebooks at Walmart type of thing. And I would grab a notebook and I would put on like Kanye West, the college dropout, and like play, pause, rewind, and write down every lyric of like every song on the album just because I loved like having the lyrics physically in my hands. And then what I realized that what I loved about it was the verse that it was written in, you
Mm,
know? Like the music is amazing, but the words themselves like are what moved me. I listen to very lyrical music that you know, and so that over time um, just started turning into like writing down lyrics, and then um, when I got to high school or middle school and high school, I started doing speech, like competitive speaking with like different schools and stuff. And I got into performing poetry. And then that I never got like in high school and middle school, I never knew what slam was. I didn't know what spoken word was. Like the only poetry I knew was like Dr. Seuss and Shel
yeah.
Silverstein. And once I got to high school, I really started like even on Facebook when like Facebook was in its earlier days, like 10, 15 years ago, I would like put out like, hey, if you like my status or whatever, I'll write you a poem. And then I'm like started writing poems for like my classmates and some family members. And the more I did it, the more I liked it. And the more I liked it, the more I wanted to do it. And then little by little, I hope I've gotten better at it since I was, 10, 12 years old. But yeah, it really started as like a transition from like finding poetry in lyrics of hip hop and then almost attempting to recreate it. But like, you know, the people that created that music didn't have the experiences I had, so I can't expect to produce something
Right.
that, you know what I mean? And my
Yeah.
experience is a poetry experience, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Hey man, that's interesting, man. And even earlier you talked about you know, kindred spirits attract. Man, that's exactly how I got started, man. A lot of stuff you're talking about is like exactly how I approach it. But anyways, like that's literally what got me into it, man. Hip hop lyrics, like early Outkast. That was like my first introduction. That was my first introduction to poetry. I mean, they tried to teach me about Shakespeare and stuff like that, but I didn't know what they were talking about.
You're like, what is this bullshit?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's interesting that you say that, man. So uh, when I was trying to like prepare to have this conversation with you, I noticed in your profile page you talk about how you're a poet, you spoken word artist, and then at the end of it it says searching. What are you searching for?
That than which nothing greater can be conceived.
Elaborate on that.
If you can think of something, it's not the greatest thing because you can immediately think of a number. The biggest number you can think of, you can always add one. So
Mm,
it's like, I don't know, that's a heavy question. There's no limit. It's like there's no limit to immensity, right? And what it stemmed from was like this idea that God is bigger than you can imagine. And so if you want to imagine God, think of the most amazing, greatest thing ever, and it's got to be better than that infinitely. So it's greater than what you can conceive is. So I'm searching essentially for the greatness that would be my God, but it's inconceivable.
hey, that's interesting. And I think you summed it up perfect when you said like the biggest number you can think about it plus one. That's interesting. I've never yeah, my mind is like that's a heavy concept.
Yeah, and
That's a
honestly,
that's
like
a heavy
talking about
concept.
getting into like what gets people into writing, like part of my journey through writing has also been like trying to find God is such a loaded word, but something, that's something else that's there that we don't know. Even God is based on faith. If there's not a leap, then it's knowledge, and if it's fact, then it's not God.
Yeah.
But so like I talk about sometimes in a lot of times in my writing, I'll talk about God like meeting my pen or writing and like he's actually controlling my pen as I'm writing on this side of the page type of thing, where it's like when I get going, I feel like it's a borderline spiritual experience for me when it happens correctly, and that's like the fix that I'm trying to get to when I sit down. I like to write from midnight to 4 a.m. So like in that witching hour block, you know, just searching.
Do you search for inspiration or does inspiration seem to find you?
A little of both, and I feel like inspiration is kind of, I don't want to say it's everywhere because I don't believe that, but if you look hard enough, you can find inspiration in anything. And if you stop looking before you find it, that's laziness. You know what I mean? So whether
Yeah.
that means picking up another book and reading a couple pages to see if it sparks an idea or if, or interest, or listening to new music, it's all about like new and different experiences and like learning and building on things because we get stuck in ruts. So if we're
Absolutely.
not, if you're looking for inspiration, you'll find it. It's like, if like the perspective pictures where it's like, oh, is this an old lady or a young lady? Or
Yeah.
it's like, well, are you looking for it? It'll be there. But
Yeah.
sometimes it just smacks you in the face where you're just like, oh shit, like this is a cool idea. Let me write this down.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta catch those ideas.
Definitely.
Um, when it comes to your writing, man, and let's take into account everything that you've written over the years. If there was, if you could, if there's one message you would want somebody to get from all of your writing, what would that one message be?
there's hope
Mm, I feel that.
to
I
put
feel
it
that.
succinctly. Yeah. I don't
So
really, I don't think it's, I don't think I'm trying to be too complicated in it. I find hope through writing and through performing, which gets more and more difficult as time passes, at least right now. We're figuring stuff out. But I mean, I'm sure it's different where you guys are, but over here
oh, nah,
there's a,
even still, man. Like I said, I mean, I went out. I tried to go out like back like in July, and it was a little place. They were social distance, everything. They were trying to have a poetry show, and it just wasn't the same. I mean, stuff is open, but it's still everyone's unsure, and so I don't know, man. I just didn't like the vibe. So at the crib, been at the crib ever since.
hey man, I have, I used to get like, I'm back. I used to get stir crazy being home too long, and now I'm just like, oh, dope. Like, I have a little bit more time to write. I got fucking, instead of being
Exactly.
out somewhere and then like feeling like you got to stay out as like, because you feel a little bit obligated to the people that you're with to make sure that, you don't dip early or whatever. Just like little
Yep.
things add up and eat away at your life more than you can imagine. You know what I mean? And
Oh, definitely,
being home
definitely.
really, really, it's, if you don't like being home, move. Like,
That's a
find a home you
Yeah,
like,
that's
bro.
tough.
Like, that's what it's
That's tough.
about.
Yeah, man. And so I took this year as like there's probably never gonna be another time where everything's shut down. There really ain't nowhere to go. So let me just stay in, right? And just focus on my mental. You know what I'm saying? Building up my mental health, my mental capacity. So I'm just trying to take advantage of this time in that way. And that's kind
Definitely.
of kept me, after like the first couple months of freaking out and not really knowing and going too deep in edibles, but that's a different story. After all that, coming back to Earth, after all that, and coming back to Earth is it's opportunity. Like which somebody was on the open mic earlier. It's opportunity now. You know what I'm saying? Like just for new stuff, a new world. So,
Exactly.
but yo, Uxmar, man, I could sit here and talk to you forever. You my homie. I know you. So but yeah, we should probably go ahead and wrap this up, man. So you can tell the
Here,
people where they can find you, where they can find some more of your writing, anything you got going on, some final words for the people, if you will.
all right, final words. So, take yourself seriously, because if you don't take yourself seriously, nobody's going to take you seriously. This pandemic made me really start taking myself more seriously. Um, all my writing has been quips and, oh, cool, check this out, for the longest. And now I'm like doing something with it, have projects, have goals. Um, and you can follow whatever I'll be doing. I'm going to be posting it on my Instagram. So wherever it is up there, follow me. And if you like read through my poetry. Some of it's good, some of it sucks. And I do take commissions. So if you want to help support a poet during this, what's that overused term? Uh, Unprecedented time. Then feel free to hit me up. I'll write you a poem. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much crazy stuff to announce. I just hope everybody has a good night, and I hope you guys enjoy my work.
Hey man, Uxmar, thank you for coming on here and blessing the platform. I appreciate it. I know everybody that's on here appreciate it. And yeah, man, we'll talk again soon, bro.
Sounds good. Peace and love, bro.
Uxmar, peace.